Fred Craddock, I mention from time to time. He was a preaching professor of mine, and he's a world-renowned preacher. He said when he was 20 years old, he had read Albert Schweitzer's book, Quest for the Historical Jesus. It was an amazing work. Really is an amazing work. He said, but I found Dr. Schweitzer's theology of Christ lacking. He said, I marked up his book. I marked it up. I wrote notes in the margins. I raised questions of all kinds. He said, and then one day, he read in the Knoxville newspaper that Dr. Schweitzer was going to be in Cleveland, Ohio, giving a dedicatory concert for a big pipe organ in a big church there in Cleveland. He said, I've got to go. I take issue with this book. The article said that Dr. Schweitzer would stay after the service in the fellowship hall and would have refreshments and have a time to fellowship. And so, young Craddock bought a Greyhound bus ticket, made his way to Cleveland. He said, all the way there, he says, I had my answers on a separate sheet of paper. I wrote my questions on one side, I had my answers on the other. All the way there, he said, I wrote, you said this, and you said this, and I disagree with you because I figured if there was time for fellowship, there would be time for questions too. He said, I got there, I heard the concert, I rushed into the fellowship hall, got a front seat in the fellowship hall, and I sat there with my questions on my lap, waiting to tear apart Dr. Schweitzer's theology. He said after a while, he walked in. Shaggy hair, big white mustache, stooped, 75 years old. He said he had played a marvelous concert. Of course, he was a master organist, medical doctor, philosopher, biblical scholar, lecturer, writer, just everything. He came in with a cup of tea and some refreshments, stood in front of the group. He said, there I was, as close as I could get with my questions ready to tear apart his theology. He said, Dr. Schweitzer came in and thanked everybody for coming to the concert and being very hospitable. He said, I wish I could stay with you longer, but I have to get back to Africa. I must go back to Africa, he said, because my people are poor. They're hungry, they're diseased, and they're dying. He said, I have to go. We have a medical station in Lamborine. He said, if there's anyone here with the love of Christ in their heart, won't you be prompted to join me, to go, and to help me? Craddock says, I looked down at my questions, and they were just stupid. He said, I learned again what it means to be a true Christian and hoped that I could be that someday.